What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 11 of our Coffee and Beer Fueled General Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Ben Hill, and joining me as always is my co-host from the opposite time zone, Mr. Evan Piotrowski.
Uncharted, the series by Naughty Dog. Uncharted, part 2 is still the best one. How's it going?
That was gold. That was That was. I'm stunned by how good that was. Thank you for.
Her Majesty is sleeping in the other room, but I couldn't hold off on another one. So.
Well, she's not going to be sleeping now. What a good wake up call, though. That'd be good. So how's it going, man? Seriously, like I know the world's gone to shit apparently because of this something to do with a virus that's going around. But other than that, man, how's life?
Sorry, I'm getting stares. It's okay. Right, we're finished. Okay. Sorry. All right. Yeah, it's been good. Actually, one thing that has made me happy about this whole quarantine.
Oh wait, have you made like a toilet roll castle? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I've been using my masks instead of my toilet paper. No,
I hope you don't reuse them like after you've used them for that purpose, at least.
Wait, isn't that what double-sided means? I'm just kidding. Or double, whatever it's called, double rolled. No, I've been listening to lots of... so basically all the video game podcasts out there, everyone's doing it from home now. And I'm happy to hear, like, whether it's the Beastcast or Game Scoop or any of these, like, our podcast sounds as good, if not better,
right,
than theirs, because they're not in studio with all their proper equipment. So I'm like, oh, okay, if you're doing this on a couple of MacBooks in a Blue Yeti, like, it's gonna sound this way no matter what. But yeah. I think they've been rushing and they haven't bought all the proper equipment, but yeah, it makes me feel good about at least the quality of this show with very limited equipment. So
yeah, true. I mean, we both have the same mic, I guess. I think that probably helps us a lot as well. So yeah, that works out, I guess.
Yeah, but in terms of the whole quarantine thing, there is no quarantine in Japan. I posted an interesting thread about this guy kind of analyzing the situation in Japan and why things seem to be so calm here. And basically the ultimate idea is we just don't know. So either Japan caught it early and there's a couple cultural things involved there where just like, you know, people are already wearing masks all the time. People don't touch. Dads don't hug their kids.
Right. The lack of love like comes in handy now and then, I guess.
Yeah. Or... Japan is...
Intimacy, I should say.
Right.
That was a terrible phrase. Like, I didn't mean it like that. No offense to our Japanese friends, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it is a kind of a joke, though. I don't know. I know enough people to where that is... It's like, it's funny because it's true type of thing. What's the deal with all these Japanese fathers? So it's either that or, you know, they're not testing, they're not promoting social... They're not... I don't know. I think it might come down to the Olympics. They're like really pushing for the Olympics, which is ridiculous because they can pretend it's not that bad in Japan, but that doesn't matter because if it's bad all over the world, it's like we're not going to Japan because we have a terrible situation happening in our own country.
No one's getting on a plane to go over there to actually watch the Olympics. So like the whole reason why they're pushing for it, like the economy and all that sort of stuff, is sort of a null point because no one's going to show up to actually boost the economy.
On both sides, in terms of the audience and the athletes. So yeah,
absolutely.
Who knows?
Yeah, very
what's
weird
happening.
situation. Yeah, I mean, very weird situation. But I hope like you keep safe, man. I know it sucks. Like I count my lucky stars. Like I got sent home a week ago. I can work from home. Like it hasn't affected my life whatsoever in terms of income and financial stuff. But I understand like people aren't in that same situation and stuff, so it sucks all around. But Christ, yeah. I hope people get a grip on it, like mentally and physically, in whatever way, as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the school year ends in March anyways, so we're already shut down.
Mm.
Uh, we'll see what happens in April, but I think things are gonna get worse before they get better. But anyways, let's
Yeah.
talk about video games.
Yeah, I was going to say at least we got video games right. That's the good thing. I mean, if you're self isolating right now, then you're probably playing a lot of video games, so you're catching up, chipping through your backlog of shame. So it's all good. But speaking of backlogs of shame and playing video games, today it is the 20th of March, 2020. Evan, what have you been playing, man?
Oh man, I've self isolation. I've been playing a lot. I beat
Right.
I beat Yakuza 7. Got the platinum trophy.
Right.
It's like 90 hours ish. It took me.
How
But
does it rank? How does it rank against all the other Yakuza's? Like, is it up there in the top 10 Yakuza games? Because there's so fucking many of them. Like, you can't
it
keep
might
track of
be
how many there are.
might be top 3 for me, which is saying a
Wow,
lot. I
really?
mean, that's like 8 games, right? So yeah, it's up there. I think it's great. Ultimately,
Awesome.
really really good story. The combat system does it plays the long game, as I kept saying, where some people I've heard they kind of get sick of the punchy brawler combat of the older games. And like we said, bosses can get rather cheap when they get into their second form during brawlers, and there's just so many like iframes, and they can cancel your moves, but you can't cancel theirs, type of thing. And
Yeah, it can be really cheap sometimes. Yeah.
that just doesn't happen in these types of games. So I will tell you, there is no crazy like mahjong trophy in this one to get the platinum trophy. Like I was trying to think like how that would be. Imagine if in like GTA, like some Japanese players playing GTA, and he's got like one trophy away from getting the platinum, and it's like, okay, beat the easy, intermediate, and hard tables in chess in both the
Right.
north and south area of the map, and you're like, oh my god, I don't even know how to play chess. I have to learn how to play
Yeah.
chess, which is like essentially what I had to do for that other trophy, because I didn't know how to play mahjong or shogi, which is like basically Japanese chess. So there's nothing like that. It's more like max out your stats, and it just like takes a shit ton of time to grind out to max your stats out, because you don't get stats from combat. But whatever. So great game. Got the platinum trophy. The final game that I played is Return of the Obra Dinn, and I think
Yep.
a couple years ago in one of the Game of the Year podcasts, I said this was my game I don't own but I want to buy game. And at that time, in 2018, I think it was on PC, and it came to consoles now. So I played it, got the platinum trophy. Uh, this game is amazing. It is so good. This is a
Oh, yeah?
game that like you play it and you realize like, oh, we haven't figured out all the possible things we can do in a video game. Like that's how original this type of game feels to me. It made me so happy. Like people can still find new ways to use an engine to tell a really interesting story in something that I've just never really done in a video game before. So, Return of the
Right.
Obra Dinn is a monochromatic, kind of looks like an old Apple computer screen, first-person murder mystery detective game. And the Obra Dinn sets sail from the English shores and goes missing. And then 4 years later, it washes back on shore with all the crew and passengers either dead or missing. And you play it as an insurance adjuster for the East India Trading Company. Pretty sure that's the name of
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
East
that's
India
right.
Trading Company.
If it's historically correct,
And
then
your
yeah,
only
that's
goal
right.
is to find out the fate of all 60 passengers and crew members. That's it. That's the gist.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I've seen this game from afar, and I've been wanting to check it out, and I've never even read a blurb on it. So like, even what you said there is like, yeah, I'm in. That sounds awesome.
Okay, so briefly, the game. So you're equipped with a book that includes a ledger of all passengers with their names and titles. For example, like whether you're a royalty, a seaman, a top man, first mate, butcher, cook, surgeon, etc. And a picture that includes all 60 faces, and a bunch of empty pages that fill in as chapters. Once you start discovering bodies, and as the chapters fill in, often in random order, it starts painting a picture of what exactly happened on the ship. So you have this book, and your main item is a special pocket watch that, once pointed over a discovered corpse with the reticle, can hit a button, and it allows you to go back in time and see a 3D kind of snapshot of the exact second that the corpse died, complete with all the people that were around at that exact moment.
Right.
So you find a corpse, you kind of hover the pocket watch over it, and you hit a button, and then it takes you back to this snapshot in time of the second
Right.
they died. So kind of a weird. Okay, so a way to explain it would be like, okay, Vin, imagine like you're late to a stage play, okay, in a theater. So you go to the theater and you hear, "Captain, no!" And then a man pulls out a gun and shoots another actor on screen. And then everything freezes at that exact moment. And then you're tasked with going up on the stage and just moving around that kind of instant frozen in time on stage and figuring out three things. The name of the deceased, how they were killed, and by whom, if applicable. And that's all you get. So you need to use like visual and audio cues and consult your book in order to solve the murder. So, for example, well, in this instance, you can clearly see the man was shot, and judging by the audio hint, you can assume the man who has the literal smoking gun is the captain. So then you can go into your book and enter what you know. So, okay, unknown person, you don't know the name of the main person who got shot, then you can enter killed by, and there's things like clubbed, stabbed, electrocuted, burned. So, shot by the captain, you can enter the captain's name, and then those are the three things that you can enter for each person's fate, and you have to discover all three things for each of the 60 members. And that's all you can know from that memory, at least for now. You don't know the name of the guy who was shot, so you back out of your book, and then you end up exploring more of the ship for more information in hopes to learn the identity of that poor man who was shot. Or, is he a poor man? Did he deserve it? You don't know. So you explore the ship and consult your ledger and your book.
Interesting. So it's just a massive, like, sort of crime solving game, really, but just like really contextual based.
Right. So the game will not give you everything in text or make it all clear to you. You'll have to do a lot of the work yourself. And that's using everything, using your book, using visual cues, the story dressing, stuff around the ship, where people are, who they may have been talking to just before that person died. All of these things wrapped into one, and you have to consult all this stuff and even take notes on the side if necessary. And it gets pretty challenging, but it is not one of those games where you're like, I need to look something up. I cannot handle this. I figured out all 60 of the people without looking anything up. I did it in 2 sittings. It's not one of those puzzle games where you're like, I'm stumped. I need to walk away from this game and come back. I mean, possibly that might happen to you. I was fine with it, but this game makes you feel so fucking smart, though. It makes you feel so good about yourself. Like, once you finally like find a clue, you're like, that's the guy. And then you put the name in. It's like, it makes this awesome sound. It's like, dun. Okay, you got 3 more names right, and you just like put the controller down and you stand up. You're like, bow down to me, for I am.
Yeah, I am Sherlock Holmes.
I am Sherlock Holmes and Poirot, created in the flesh. So it's great.
Awesome.
I wish there was more people to find out how they died, and the story is interesting. It's one of those stories you're like, whoa, okay, I want to see how this started, and it's like the best murder mystery puzzle game that I think I've ever played. Dude,
Awesome.
I fucking highly recommend
totally
it.
sold on me.
It is so good.
Yeah, I'm gonna check this out.
So yeah, now I'm like out of games to play. I'm a bit worried now. I like.
Hey man, Doom Eternal came out today. Like, you've got no excuse.
Oh.
I'm sorry, but like, you've got a game.
Have you been playing that?
I have not. That is not. I started playing it today, but I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm like half an hour.
Okay.
In, so it's probably a terrible one to talk about. The only thing I will say about it, it's very much an improvement on the first one in terms of gameplay. Like you'll automatically like see that they were just they figured out what the ball was in the last game, and now they're just running with it, sort of thing. It's much more cartoony, a lot more arcadey. It's more about like just the fast paced, just shooting shit up and having a good time and having fun with it, and they really lean into the fun side of it. So yeah, I mean, expect more of what happened in the last game. So yeah, it's being praised as well. So that's all I'll really say.
Sounds good to me. More of Doom 2016 sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing, right? It's never.
What else have you been playing?
All right, man. I've played probably way too many video games recently. So the big one which I wanted to sort of touch on was one that sort of hinted at in the last episode, which was the Witcher 3. I've finally gotten around to this thing.
Right. You were, what, maybe like 30 hours in the last time we talked?
Yeah, I was about 20 hours in or something. Yeah, I wasn't too far into it, I guess. But now I still haven't finished the game. Like I'm about 90 hours in now. Like it's fucking getting ridiculous. But the game that never ends, pretty much. But yeah, man, I'm not like as hyped on this thing as everyone else, I guess. Like I'm enjoying it. I think it's a great game, but I don't know. Like I think it falls short on a lot of things. Maybe because I didn't play it at the time and it's 5 years old now and stuff like that. So maybe I'm a bit late to the game. But I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Like what did you think about the game like first before I dive into it?
Oh, I absolutely love it. And I'm not like high fantasy guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new Mega Man character, by the way. High fantasy guy. A terrible name. Yeah, I'm not big high fantasy guy. Like my brother is. Like he plays like like Elder Scrolls. He's there. Like he's
right.
like Magic the Gathering guy. Fucking Lord of the Rings. The Witcher. He loves that shit. And he'd been telling me about it for years. And then I was like, yeah. And we talked about this. I got 6 hours in. I'm like, man, this game is like so. The combat kind of sucks. But then we talked about it on the side quest episode. The side quests are awesome. The writing is great. Like I love all that shit. And I got over that hump, which is probably about conservatively like 8 hours, and then I just went with it, and I finished the both DLCs. Both DLCs have arguably better stories than the main game.
Right.
Great stuff. I think I clocked about 105 hours total when all was said and done, so I love them. I will say, Mitch, I don't know if he finished it. He played the game, and he had been tweeting out like the worst bugs ever. And I think you had been saying the game's buggy, and it's like, did this game get buggier? Because I've just seen two people kind of recording their experiences playing it just in 2020, right, the beginning of the year. And you guys have been running into like the worst bugs I've seen, and I ran into a few. And I'm usually the guy that runs into the weirdest random bugs ever, but it seems like you've had some issues with that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll talk about the good stuff first, I guess. I'll get that out of the way. It's, as you said, these side quests are they literally carry the game. Like, they're the best thing. They're probably some of the best side quests I've seen in any game, pretty much, so far. How in-depth they go, like, where they take the characters, like, just the mini-stories which they have. And they really do carry the game, but the main quest sort of drags the game, and, like, the flip side of that, like, it's just the main quest is garbage. Like, it's absolutely terrible. Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like, you can't even spoil it because it's so simple. It's like, all you're literally trying to do is find this character called Ciri, right? That's it. That's all you're doing. And it pretty much never fucking changes, like, ever, throughout the whole game. Like, I am now, like, towards the end of Skellige. Like, I'm about to leave Skellige Island. And I'm still just trying to find Ciri. It's like, where the hell is this bitch? Like, Christ, I've been chasing her for years. Like, where is she? Like, it's getting ridiculous. And I've been trying to like find motivations to go back to it, but like the main story is just like, ugh, all right, I'll get back to it eventually, and I will get back to it. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean, so many good things and so many bad things about this game at the same time. It's got so many like polar opposites. Like Gwent is amazing. Like it's one of the best card games I've ever played in my life. But then that's
funny because I never touched Gwent.
Gwent's fucking awesome, man.
I've heard
it's
good
the
things.
shit. Like, get on it. Like, it's awesome. It's the best game ever. It's, in fact, like, if I just played Gwent the card game instead of The Witcher 3, I might have come out of it happier, I guess. But what else? Like, Geralt, he's like moving a wardrobe. Like, this is my main thing, which I have a problem with. Like, his character controller is absolutely awful. Like, it's god awful. No one can defend it, and if you can, then well played to you, because you are hitting your head against a brick wall, son. It's just trying to move them around, and like if you're trying to pick something up and the actual object isn't in view or whatever, you've got to like take a step back and like sidestep and like get it into view. Or like if you want to take a book off the shelf and the camera's too close to the shelf, you have to take a step back and look at the top of it, and just stupid stuff like that.
Dude,
you know? It's bananas.
I tweeted out a video back when I was playing it, and there was like I had to examine something on the floor.
I already know how this whole story is gonna go.
It was like too close to other things in the area, and I'm like trying to pick this thing up, and I'm like fucking lighting candles on the table.
Yeah,
and I just like if you just fast forwarded what I was doing, like a time lapse. It was like the most ridiculous shit ever. It's like
you just need that chicken
on,
song
candle
over.
Off, candle on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, move backward. Candle on. Oh, picks up the wrong thing. I'm like, oh my god.
Story
I just
of my
want
life,
to fucking
man.
pick the thing up. I just want to pick the thing up. Yeah, that especially in close, in houses and close quarters, it's pretty egregious with the button prompts. It's just
it's
they
very
don't show up when you want them to.
The best way I can describe it, it's very like over cumbersome for like for reasons which it doesn't really need to be. Like it just doesn't need to be like this sort of chaotic and archaic, I guess, in them respects. It's like Geralt's character controller is really terrible. Like the combat is really overly complicated for no real reason, for a lot of the time. Like it's really awesome like when you get used to the combat of
sure,
like I've got the right potion to like go after this thing, and I put the right oil on my sword, and all this stuff. And it's an awesome moment when you start like melding all that stuff together and you go into a fight prepared and you beat it, and you're like, yeah, I feel good about that or whatever. But at the same time, there's certain things that are just like, why is that a thing? Like it just doesn't, like the potions and stuff. Like why are they so like crazily complicated? Why is there so many of them and stuff like that?
Yeah, I never used any of that shit because it was so
exactly. That's the point.
Yeah.
I mean, you would see a thing
right.
and you'd be like, can I really be bothered going into like 3 screens of UI just to put on this friggin' potion on my sword, or the right oil and stuff like that? Do I have the right oil? All this sort of stuff. And it's just that you have to go through the Wikipedia of like your UI of trying to figure out if you've got the right thing to do the right thing. It could have been streamlined so much more.
Yeah. I can't wait to play this game on the PlayStation 5. So when I get into the items, the items screen, not only is it lightning fast, but the fucking all my items and everything doesn't populate in like real time, as if it's like
as if he's hand counting it out of a bag.
There's nothing there, and then like all the shit just starts popping up. I'm like, oh my god, how is this?
Yeah, man, it's terrible.
How is this so slow?
Right, I was just constantly like playing this game thinking game of the year, really? Like this one game of the year? Like the whole time. I mean, it's a great game in terms of when you get into the right flow of things and you're doing the right side quests and all that sort of stuff. But then it's like you were saying about the bugs. Like I hit so many bugs in this game. I don't know how. I mean, it's like you were saying. Sometimes you just get them golden people that just don't, like, they'll play a game all the way through and they don't hit a single bug, and they have like the greatest time. But I was, unfortunately, I dodged that bullet this time, and I got hit by all the bullets apparently.
Yeah, I think bugs. You and Mitch by far have run into the most problems in The Witcher 3 that I've at least seen my group of friends.
Right. I mean, I tweeted out like the goofy ones, like when like I killed a dragon, it just like it floated through the floor and stuff like that. Or my horse just like I got off my horse and it jumped off a cliff and went into the ocean and stuff. And then I called it and,
then
it came from a tree.
It came back. Yeah.
Right. Like that's just funny, like whatever. I mean, that's why I tweet them out. I was like, yeah, that was pretty funny. But it's just I had so many like game breaking bugs where I either had to hard reset. Like the game literally crashed more than 10 times. Like hard crashes to the dashboard with error codes, like that shouldn't be happening on a 5-year-old game. I understand it's an open world game and like systemically it runs into a lot of problems, but yeah, it was pretty rough. Like I was actually kind of surprised by the fact that not only because it was game of the year, but it was also a game that's been out for 5 years and so widely played. Like it was pretty crazy to me that this game hit so many issues. So
yeah, running into so many issues with this game, does that make you think about Cyberpunk in a different light, or
absolutely?
No?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention this at some point. I'm actually way less excited now about Cyberpunk than I was before. Like, because before, like, I was sort of on the train with everyone else because everyone else was so excited about it because of The Witcher 3, and now we're going into this thing and I've got my own experience of The Witcher 3. I'm kind of like, is this really going to be as good as people think it is? Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, Like, I hope this is a sort of Horizon Zero Dawn off the back of Killzone sort of thing. They're just going in a completely different direction, completely different game. They're doing, like, a first-person futuristic cyberpunk game versus, like, a high fantasy thing. Maybe this will work out. Maybe it'll be awesome. Maybe it'll be amazing. I don't know. But, yeah, 100%, I definitely go into Cyberpunk a lot less optimistic now, which is a shame, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's also a bit crazy to think about is when that first they tweaked Geralt's movement and among other things,
I can't even imagine, man.
months after that game came out, I think in 2013. So it was actually worse than it is now.
I can't even
They
imagine.
actually changed it. Yeah, who knows? And even so, that game was getting praised in the reviews when it initially came out, and that was before stuff was tweaked. I'm like, I can't imagine how that game controlled then.
Yeah, I mean, were people just that thirsty for a video game back then? Like, I don't know. I know people are like throwing stuff at their screens right now, like, "Oh, you motherfucker, how dare you?" Sacrilege and all that sort of stuff. But like, yeah, I kind of had a bad experience with this game. I had to really push through. But saying that, when it did work and when you get into the flow of doing the right side quests, like the Isle of Rats or whatever, that side quest, when I came across that, it was gold. It was awesome. Like, that's when the game really thrives, when you hit the right side quests and you run into the right people and they're saying the right things, and just culturally, like, the world is so well built and so well written. Really great atmosphere of the game, and when things systemically happen, when you help save a guy that was going to get hung, and then you walk into a town, it's like, "Hey, I remember you. You saved my life. Do you want a free haircut?" When stuff like that happens. It's amazing. Like, I love it when shit that happens. Yeah, I'll take a free haircut. No problem, dude.
Yeah.
High five, And then, you go back to
things that I do actually have consequences.
Right. That's amazing. And then you go back to your main site, your main mission. It's like, "Oh, yeah, Siri. I forgot about her. Like, I better go and find her, And then...
Vin, think about Skellige Islands. The stuff that's happening on there with, like, the succession to the throne and the brother and the sister, all that stuff is way more interesting than trying to find Ciri.
That's the problem, though. Like, you're constantly dragged over. Like, when the stuff was happening with the Red Baron, like that, the Bloody Baron even, that guy.
The one that everyone was talking about way back when, right? And then you play it and you're like, oh yeah, everyone was right. This is fucking really interesting.
Yeah, and it is super interesting, and like the whole reason why you're sort of helping these people is so you can get more information on Ciri, and then they end up telling you, like, "Yeah, she came through here." I'm like, "All right, and yeah, she went that way. Okay, thanks." And like, after
that's basically the whole game,
right? And every single person you walk into, that's like a quote unquote the main quest. It's just that's the quest. Like, I just said it right there. Like, you walk up to them, they're like, "Okay, go and do this for me. I'll give you more information." You go and do some stuff for them. You come back. "All right, here's your thing. Now tell me where Ciri is." And like, "All right, go and do this, and I'll give you a bit more information." And it's like, "All right, for fuck's sake." And then you go back a third time, and they're like, "All right, this time I'll really tell you which way she went. She went that way." And you're like, "All right, cool." And then you go that way, and then you run into someone else, and like, "All right, I'll tell you where Ciri went." If you just, "Oh, for fuck's sake, really, this again?" And it's just over and over and over again, to the point where you're just like, I don't really want to find Ciri anymore. Like, screw her, like, is she in the woods somewhere? I don't care,
It's like, oh, I'm sure she'll be okay. The Wild Hunt will get tired of her.
Right, yeah, I mean, she's got to be somewhere, I'm sure she'll be fine. But, I mean, I looked up a walkthrough, and I know I'm pretty close to the end of the game. Like, I know I'm coming towards, like, the final chapter of the game. It's like, really? Like, nothing's happened, like, in terms of the main story. Like, how are they going to wrap this up? So, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'll get around to it, and I will finish it off. But, it's rough.
That sucks, man, because I don't know how you feel about playing more of The Witcher 3, but the DLC stories, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, are so good. Like, the actual stories, right? Even the side stories are, of course, good, but the actual main story in each of those DLCs, especially Hearts of Stone, I absolutely loved. Yeah. There's a side quest where you go to a wedding with Triss, I believe. That's great. It's one of those things that's like, oh, not every side quest has to be you fighting.
Right.
They start doing interesting things. Like, oh, you can tell interesting stories without having to pull your sword out at the end of it. And you go to this wedding, and you just take part in a wedding. And there's, like, several things that you end up doing, and you like, world building, and your relationship with Triss is quite interesting with the conversations you have. And it's like, that was nice. Yeah. I want more of this to kind of break up the witching part of the Witcher games, and I like when games do that.
Yeah, I do. I think I'm gonna. Like, I doubt I'm gonna go straight into DLCs like after I finish the main sort of quest because how that's gonna like make me feel at the end of that. Oh, you found Siri. Oh, awesome, great. There you go. Here are the credits. Thanks. I really don't care. But
Right.
I'm probably gonna wait a while before I go around to the DLC, and then I'll play it properly, sort of thing. But yeah, really, really hit and miss game. Like I've not really had like the world's greatest experience, but when it works really, really well. Like it's a great setting. When the mechanics work and when you get into the right fights and you get into the right flow of things and you get in the right dodges and you got the right oils on using the right potions, when it all works together, like it works really well. But there's so many things that just like mess that up, and it's a shame. But yeah, I know people love the game as it is, so like not taken away from them. I'm glad they enjoyed it. It's just me personally, I guess I hit a lot of bugs and just like the way I played it, I guess it's just very different to how everyone else enjoyed it.
Yeah, not exactly the same thing, but with the messenger, you can tell like, man, there's like if they just tweaked it's a bit different because it's not about bugs or anything like that, but if they just tweaked the level design a little bit, this game could have been great. In my opinion, most people gave it like an 8 out of 10. But yeah, it's just like these little things is like death by 1,000 cuts. I think I said on Twitter. It's a shame in that regard. But yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, that does suck.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, that's pretty much how I look at The Witcher 3 as well, I guess. Like, there was a lot of... I can't really say there was any one big problem outside of, like, the really crappy main quest, but there's just a lot of tiny little things that sort of eat away at all the good stuff to the point that it just shifts it all down a level sort of thing, and it's not quite as great as, like, what I was expecting it to be based on everyone's, like, The Witcher 3 is amazing sort of thing. But it's still a good game. Like everyone should check it out. It's still worthy of your time. If you want to put time into it. But just don't expect going into the main quest thinking it's going to be like the Witcher sort of Netflix series. It's not going to be that. Nothing really moves in the main quest to the point that it's exciting. It's like everything is about the outside edges of the game itself, which are super interesting if you just like go off the beaten path and try and find some stuff. You'll really enjoy it if you get into that stuff. But don't expect too much from the main quest.
It's kind of funny though. It's the series, although it takes place well before the Witcher 3. It's actually quite accurate because it's like Geralt and Ciri never meet up in that show either. You're like,
right.
Are they gonna ever meet up?
Yeah, right. And he's just constantly trying to find her. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's
accurate.
ridiculous. Yeah,
accurate.
Totally accurate. But yeah, we should move on anyway. Like I did have another game, which I'll talk about next time. But I've been playing Death Stranding. And
oh man, yeah.
Right.
I might just cut out because I don't really have much to play. I might just cut my section of what I've been playing for next episode, and we can just talk about Death Stranding for 15 minutes because I want to pick your brain.
What right that. Now or?
No. Next episode. Yeah, I'll let you sit on that one for a little bit longer, and then
no worries.
All right, now on to the topic of the show.
All right, before we talk about anything else, I guess, I wanted to get your top line thoughts on what you thought about the PS5 reveal, because we got shown the console, we got a load of games. Obviously, the presser was just beyond exciting. So, what are your thoughts on it? I'm clearly joking, by the way, about all of that, because none of that happened. But there was a quote-unquote reveal. But
right.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, at first, I didn't know that it was supposed to be for GDC, and then 8 minutes in I realized that it was supposed to be for GDC.
Right.
It became quite clear that it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you might take a different angle at this because maybe you knew that you're a dev. I
didn't know that going in.
Okay.
What I will say is that Sony really fucked up the messaging on this to say, because they didn't mention that beforehand. The second the presser started, and oh crap, I can't remember his name. The guy who now runs Worldwide Studios or whatever.
Oh, from Guerrilla Games.
No, the other guy, the British guy, the one that revealed the logo, and he was also at the start of the presser. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. No offense to that guy, but whoever he is,
Don
said,
Matrix. No wait, Don Matrick. Oh. Dude, Don...
No, it's Maverick.
Don Matrick is a couple changes to his last name in between two fucking cool names, which he has neither of. Don Matrix and Don Maverick. but he's not either of those.
Don Maverick.
He's Don Matrick.
You know, that explains so much, yet so little.
Yeah.
Poor guy. I feel bad for that. But anyway, like that, the guy like before that introduced Mark Cerny onto the stage for the the PS5.
Right.
Yeah, that guy. Like the second he said, "Oh, this was a talk that was originally cut because of GDC, and we couldn't go there to present." Anyway, here's Mark Cerny. The second he said that, I was like, "I know exactly what this is going to be. We're not going to see any hardware. We're not going to see any video games. This is all going to be like dry tech specs." And it was like the whole thing. And I understand like people going into that might have, like yourself, like it took you about 8 minutes. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like you're only human. You know, Sony did not express that in any shape or form. Like they did a really piss poor job of this, but yeah.
The thing that bothered me the most about this is those weird Mystery Science Theater like cardboard cutouts silhouettes in the foreground. Not
they were moving. They
moved. Was that a loop? It seemed like it was on loop. Like the guy on the far left like sometimes touched his face. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right. Took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes, put them back on.
But not even that. The thing that annoyed me the most about this is not the guy to the far left, the next guy was like leaning his neck over to the right the whole time, and so I was like, "Who sits like that?" That guy bothered the shit out of me.
This is how you know like the pressure was so bad that Evan
like,
was taking notes on like the audience. You know, that's
you
how
know, like the classic video online where like you see like a single shot of something and the camera starts slowly focusing in on like something in the foreground or background. That was basically me, and then like Mark Cerny's talk is like drowning out, and I'm just looking at this guy who's like leaning to the right. It is, I don't know. The beginning of it was interesting enough. I didn't watch the whole thing. When they started getting into the audio stuff in your ear, I was like, I'm not watching this. I'm not going to remember what they said, in all honesty.
Right.
I don't remember what they said.
Most people, I mean, shit, man, I'm a dev. I don't remember half of the stuff he
I'll
said.
say...
I mean, it was interesting. Yeah. It was fun, but, yeah.
Very shortly, one thing, because we haven't seen anything from the console, aside from the PS5 logo and a couple of like secondhand stories like through the Wired articles, right? And like that right. Closed door demo of Spider-Man running on the PlayStation 5. Because we haven't seen anything, I just really think like this is the first time we've had direct like on the PlayStation channel and YouTube direct to the consumer about PlayStation 5. This is the very first thing. I get that it is initially for GDC, but like you have to meet us halfway on this, like consumer and dev, because this is the first thing. If they had done like a February thing where they gave us specs and okay, this is the PlayStation 5 DualShock controller and here's a couple games, and then this came out, nobody would be complaining about it because this is for GDC. But since we hadn't had anything about the PlayStation 5 up to there, and they know, like PlayStation knows, like the marketing team knows, people have been throwing out rumors and there's going to be something coming up in February. Oh no, okay, well we've heard like it's backwards compatible with PlayStation. They know all this stuff is in the air. So I wish they could have met us halfway with like just your average consumer and some of getting into the more techie, like boring stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying completely, and I totally agree. I think they completely messed up the messaging on this, like how like they know their fans are thirsty, like they really, really need to put out something like soon, otherwise like they're gonna start. I mean, that's I guess the point I'm getting at. Like otherwise, what? Like they're gonna wait longer because that's pretty much all they're gonna do and bitch about it until they do see something, and then they're all gonna be excited again because that's what gamers do. But regardless, like how they've sort of handled this has been really, really terrible. And I think the reason why this is, and I can only speculate to this, like I don't know anything behind the scenes. I can only speculate the reason why this has happened is because they've realized like how stacked that first 6 months of this year is in terms of how many games they got coming out. It's like they're trying to get people excited about the PS5 at the same time that The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out, the same time that Ghost of Tsushima is coming out, the same time that Final Fantasy 7 Remake's coming out. It's like, it's suicide. Like, why would you do that? So they're trying to push it back. But this, like, shadow dropping this thing and saying, oh, we're going to be live tomorrow with this presentation and all that sort of stuff. Like, you shouldn't have done that. You should have just, if you shadow dropped this on YouTube, then people would have been like, oh, that's cool. Like, we got tech specs, you know? Like, that no one would have cared. But the fact that they've sort of hyped this up a little bit, like, I think that's where they did the damage.
Well, they should have been immediately from the start, like, okay, we're doing a video specifically, it's going to be about tech specs. We're not showing. They should have said that up front to
been upfront about
people's
it. Right.
expectations in place. Yeah,
absolutely.
like I'm not like whatever shouting like, oh my god, these guys suck. It's just kind of like, I mean,
it was a fumble.
Yeah, which is not good. I mean, because we've talked about how we're saying like Sony's just being really weird with their marketing or lack thereof, and then this happens and it's a stumble. So like, okay, well, what the hell do they have?
They've really dropped the ball.
Yeah,
they really dropped the ball. I mean, I genuinely believe they've got stuff stacked in the background. I'm pretty sure that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is getting shown. I'm pretty sure that God of War 2 is going to be there. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a load of games that are stacked, ready for this thing to go. But everyone just has to keep quiet right now because I think the main problem is the one that's been sort of overshadowing this whole sort of episode, which is the virus, like COVID-19. It's probably like people really like fans of Sony and Xbox. They really need to start like shifting their expectations because I really don't think these consoles are going to come out this year. Like for people to expect like the PS5 to come out in this year with the way that things are right now, we can't even predict 3 weeks ahead, and Sony are trying to predict holiday 2020.
Right.
Like I just don't see it. Like I really can't see it. I mean, all the marketing stuff that Xbox has been doing over the last few weeks, they've been saying, yeah, it's coming out this year, but all that marketing stuff probably would have been done a month ago before all this stuff hit.
Right, they already had that in place.
So it's really we're kind of like at this impasse at the moment, and I think because Sony haven't officially announced anything, they've sort of got that control. And how is this going to look in September when we found out by that point that these consoles aren't coming out, and Sony have only just announced like their new console that's coming out in March instead, sort of thing? They're going to look way better for it, I guess, on the other end, and maybe that's how they're sort of juggling this right now. But regardless, the whole GDC like X-Presser thing that they hyped up, but it wasn't really a presser and it was a GDC talk. All that was terrible.
What? Yeah.
Like really bad marketing. Someone should have like told them. They should have been in a meeting and be like, yeah, this is suicide. You know? Like this probably isn't a good thing.
I just this morning when I woke up, I was making coffee. This is like an hour before we started recording. I was listening to Game Scoop, and it kind of annoyed me because they used something that I'd actually been thinking about for a couple days, but it's gonna sound like I listened to their episode and I'm just saying what they said, which I just talked about. I don't want to do any of that shit. But I thought about this because this is something you have to do as a teacher, especially when teaching students in a second language, right? It's their second language.
Right.
It's you show, don't tell. And this is exactly what they said that in Game Scoop several times. And so much so they're like, we should call this episode Show, Don't Tell. I was like, God damn it. You fucking stole what I was going to say, or it's going to look like I copied you guys. But the whole thing is like...
No, I mean, I don't think you're copying. I mean, you've said that 1,000 times on this podcast.
I think it's always in the back of my mind because of
points.
Teaching. Like, you don't sit there and lecture the kids or like, okay, kids, this is what we're going to do. So step one, we're going... Like, don't tell them, show them how it works in real life, in a real situation, like activities. Don't explain the activity.
Yeah.
Do the activity in front of them so they can see how it works. They absorb way more information like that. And what I mean by this is, and what I was talking about by meeting consumers and devs halfway is, look at that Spider-Man demo. When you talk about faster loading times, give us all that crazy tech stuff, and then show us why it matters using visuals, using a video.
The crazy thing about that whole Spider-Man video, like that's never been officially released.
Right.
That was like a scream. Like someone recorded that from inside the theater of like one of their like stock, like one of their like investor meetings or whatever, right? It's like, why wasn't that in like the Sony presser? It's just Mark Cerny up there talking about like, hard drive speeds.
It wasn't even like a closed doors demo of like a new PlayStation 5 game. It was Spider-Man that came out in 2018.
Right.
So give us a line of tech, then show us visually why that matters, and then do the next thing, and then show us why that matters. Show us visuals, so then, at least the consumer can like read this stuff. Say, okay, I kind of get what they're going for. I don't really understand some of the wording here. Oh, that's what they mean. This is what. So
Right.
I just wish they would have kind of interlaced the explanations with visuals, like in an engine or a game, or like how this PlayStation 4 game, why this matters, and how it's going to look on PlayStation 5, or when they talk about the eliminating bottlenecking using the solid state drive. That's the most interesting stuff to me. That's the thing I think is going to matter the most, is this SSD
I totally
is
agree.
like the big takeaway.
But even then, I mean, like, as you were saying, like, they could have shown that stuff instead of, like, just talking about it, sort of thing. But, like, at the same time, I understand that they have to go deep into this stuff for devs, like, the people that are hard coding this stuff into their games. Like, it's good for them to know. But there was so much stuff that Sony was talking about. It was like, okay, we're doing this with the processor, and it does this, and it does that, and does this, and we've got these controllers that sort of, control all of this. So, and you as developers don't even have to worry about any of this sort of stuff. And it's like, why are you telling us then? Sort of thing. And why are you telling all the fans that are thirsty as hell for information, or just want to see the controller? Like, even if you did what you did with the PS4, where you had one of these style meetings, even if you just showed the controller, because we know that's going to be different, like from all the patterns and all that sort of stuff.
So
just show that. Like, the fans would have been happy with that. Yeah, we got a controller. It's going to be the same as like how they announced the PS4. They showed us controller, then they showed us the hardware, and then we had an E3. And, all that sort of stuff. They could see that roadmap. But now that they've gone and done this, it's sort of like, well, fuck, what are they going to do now? Sort of thing. Like, you don't actually know what's next.
I mean, maybe like they've obviously heard all of this criticism since that video was released, and they're in their meetings. They're like, they say we're stumbling, but the blowout hasn't happened yet. It's going to come.
Right.
And when they drop that, people are going to forget about when they complained about this GDC video.
Yeah, and at the same time, like, as like I understand being on the other side of the curtain of that. Like, it's sort of sadly true. Like, as much as people are pissed off at Sony right now, and I am as well, like, as a consumer, I know, like, when they do show their stuff, I'm sure, like, everyone's going to be excited for it, Like, everyone's going to forget about all the Mark Cerny conference. Like, no one's going to give a shit. Like, everyone's just going to be like, oh my god, did you see God of War 2? It looked amazing,
I think we have to talk about keynote slide design a little bit. Do you want to talk?
I don't think I can. It brings me pain. Honestly, like, I've just been looking at these slides from the PS3 hardware press thing. Like, they're painful. Like, Mark Cerny must have made them himself. Like, he must have. Like, that's the only conclusion I can come to. They're so terribly done. It's like he hired someone to make the backgrounds, and then he was like there in Keynote on his trackpad, like Sony Vaio computer, like dragging the images around and stuff. I can see the whole thing. Like, he must have.
He's like making his builds, like build in, build out.
Right.
Fucking hit click. The sweet matrix they actually did that.
Right.
I can't believe they did that with the triangle square circle cross. It was like the Matrix, and then it like glittered and it was like falling like rain. I'm like, oh my god, why'd you? Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's
fine.
bad.
It's
really bad.
I'll take it.
I mean, like, the only thing I can say is, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad, just take a moment, go and Google the backwards compatibility slide.
Your favorite slide of all of them, I think.
Oh, it's so painful. It's got a PS5 logo at the top, PlayStation 4 Pro, and then the PlayStation 4 logo. Just look at it. Like, just take your time and think about it. Like, pretend you're a graphic designer. Like, look at the space and look at the font colors. Just look at it. It's a car crash of a slide. It's absolutely fucking awful. It's like, really? This is like one of the biggest video games, like, console manufacturers in the world, and they're about to announce this thing which everyone is really, really wanting. Like, they posted a logo, and it's like the second biggest video game based Instagram thing ever, and like, this is the slide he's using. Really? Like, oh, it's painful.
You know what how like below the PlayStation 4 Pro and the PlayStation 4 logos there's some empty space? You know what I recently heard? I don't know what podcast it was. Similar to Super Mario Maker 2, where they have in the menus they have like the different games you can switch through, like the skins. Mm-hmm. So basically, Super Mario 1, 3, World, and then like Super Mario 3D World is in a separate section on the menu. If you want to switch that because some of the stuff doesn't transfer over, there was open
Right.
space next to Super Mario 3D World. They're like, that's where they're going to put the DLC. That's where they're going to release a video. And it's like, and now Super Mario 2 is going to be the new skin. I've heard like, oh, there's a lot of space below the PlayStation 4 section, so when they drop the bomb,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
going to pop
I would-
up PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 2. Like, they're going to add the logos in that area. Now there's this rumor going around like that's what that space is for, but
All right, two points to that. First point is I would believe that if you go and look at the spacing
It's
on like,
pretty
the
bad.
words and stuff, it's fucking awful. So I genuinely believe that he thought that looked cool with the gap underneath it.
the spacing bothers you so much, you're just hoping that's true, only to make that slide look
Right.
better the second time around.
Secondly, I like the further this goes along and the more like Sony aren't talking about it, I genuinely believe that backwards compatibility isn't really going to be a thing past PlayStation 4. I'm kind of getting to that feeling in the bottom of my gut now where it's kind of like, yeah, they're probably going to lean on PlayStation Now, and that's going to be the service that they're going to go forward with it, which is a massive shame. Like, I would be really gutted if that happened, but I'm getting that feeling the less they talk about
As
it.
much as I'd like to say, like, I'd love to have all these, I could just stick a PlayStation 1 disc in and play, like, they've done the research. People don't use it, in all honesty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, there's that as
Yeah.
well. I mean, it's a combination of things which I think if they were going to mention it, they would mention that to developers at that conference.
Right.
Like that would have been a talking point, and they didn't mention it. That tells me that it's not a thing. It probably isn't, because they specifically mentioned PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility, but they didn't mention anything before that. Even though that's probably the thing that most people have to prepare for, because it's like, hey, developers, get your files ready. Dig out the archives, because we're going to get this thing. We're going to get like old games running on this thing again, sort of thing. Get ready to do the patches and stuff. Like that would have been the time to tell them, but they didn't. So I'm pretty sure it's just not a thing. I think they're just going to lean on PlayStation Now and hope that takes off, especially with the success of things like, well, success, quote unquote, like the industry is starting to ramp up towards Stadia and GeForce Now and stuff like that. And people have started to see, like, yeah, the price point isn't there yet, but the tech is getting there. And I think they've started to realize that. And I think, like, in a few years, PlayStation Now is probably going to explode and take off. And yeah.
yeah.
We'll see.
All right. My final thought on this, and I guess this will just be what we talked about this episode. Fine with that. Is
Sure.
as much as you're like disappointed, like, or I'm disappointed, like we didn't get the big PlayStation blowout. Two things. One, it's going to come, so we'll just have to wait a bit longer. I'm fine with
it's
that.
coming.
Another thing is there's been devs tweeting out like, this shit's pretty fucking amazing, and it's like, oh, okay, so like they are excited about this, like game, like whatever. The SSD drive in the PlayStation 5 is a fucking game changer. Like, okay,
SSD is a huge thing.
Yeah.
It's massive,
So-
actually. Like, it's probably one of the biggest things that's happened in the console space in a while. Like, probably since the PS2, I would say. Since going to HD, I think this is going to be the next
right?
big
It's
thing.
like, it's fine. Xbox has its stuff going on. PlayStation has its stuff. Like, fuck the fucking flop wars or whatever you want to call it. Like, that's the same as the bit wars back in the day.
Teraflops,
People
yeah, it's dumb.
were talking
It's
about
dumb.
bits, and then they're like, well, what does that mean? And you're like, as a 10-year-old kid, like, I don't know. It doesn't, like, no one can
Right.
explain it.
Sounds cool in marketing, but no one can actually tell you. Like, the average gamer couldn't tell you what a teraflop is, or what it does,
Right.
or what it measures, even. Well, they can kind of vaguely tell you, but it's just like, where does that matter on the spectrum of things?
Let me see them games,
It's wild.
bro.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can have like a terrible system, but if the games aren't there, then that's all that really matters. And I think the reason why people are so excited for Sony is because of their massive library of great first party studios, and I think that's why people are excited. So we'll see.
Yeah.
The games will come. Like we'll see it. It'll be here soon. As long as it doesn't look like a jet engine, then I think everyone's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really cares.
Oh, you want to hear a really disgusting story? So, like,
Go for it.
my good friends in Japan, they play. Well, one of them still has a PlayStation 3. The other has PlayStation 4. He plays Pro Evolution Soccer, GTA 5, and Red Dead Redemption 2. That's it, right? So, I swear to God, what was it? A week ago, my friend in our chat tweets a picture of the PlayStation 5 dev kit, and he's like, oh, the PlayStation 5 looks awesome. I'd buy that. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's great. I love that he's psyched about that. That's great.
And
that makes me so
I love
happy.
how that's like that picture's like 6 months old or whatever. Not only that,
Right.
he's like, yeah, I love it. It's like, oh,
He's on board. He's all about that 2002 graphic design.
I think I just like slowly put my phone down. My hands started shaking. I think I just went for a walk and then I just like stood in the shower with all my clothes on, and then I calmed down, and then I just tweeted, I'm like, oh no, that's just the dev kit. It's not going to look like that. But I certainly had to think.
Right.
I just had to stop thinking for a moment there and just just
take
a breath. Yeah. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I know how that feels. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it'll come. Like, the games will come. I'm really excited. But I'm more excited about this year. I think this year is going to be the biggest games year that we've had in decades, honestly. I think we're going into a really, really busy year. Starting with today, like, Doom Eternals came out today, and it's already smashing it in terms of reviews. Animal Crossing came out, like, that's smashing it for reviews. We've got a really good year ahead of us, like, regardless of consoles. So I'm okay with them being pushed back or not showing anything yet. I'm good. I'm really
there's
good.
so many. I not only do I have my backlog, but in the next couple months, I mean, before
stuff
the
is
summer,
stacked.
there's so many games coming out.
Yeah.
I'm fine with waiting. Gonna have to wait a bit
Hey,
longer.
dude, next week, what's coming out? You got Persona 5 is coming out.
Oh man, I gotta play that.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
Yeah, you got to play that.
I think it all started with Dragon Quest XI. Like the fire of the JRPG has like reignited in me, and like I played 100.
It only takes one
I
game.
guess so.
Yeah.
I played 100 hours of that, and then 90 hours of Yakuza 7, and I'm like, you know what? I could go for a turn-based game again. So I might, I might start that game sooner. Well, I got to finish it this year, I promised. But yeah, lots of stuff coming up.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, a very good year ahead. So fear not about the consoles. Like, if they don't come right away, then, take a breath. Look at all the other awesome games that are coming out. Like, we've got a good year. Right, we should probably wrap this up anyway. We were meant to talk about our gaming habits, but we'll probably get into that in another episode, I'm sure.
We'll save that.
Because everyone's got those, right?
What the hell is the name of this episode?
I don't know. Shenanigans at large.
There you go.
Shenanigans and singing.
Yeah.
Lots of singing.
Major
and wives and girlfriends are unhappy.
Just call it the Don Matrix, the Don
Matrix
Maverick
shenanigans.
episode.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
Let's go with that.
We'll workshop that.
Well, anyway, yeah, we appreciate for everyone listening in. We appreciate for everyone listening in. That's a sentence. That's definitely a sentence, right? It's got words in there somewhere. But yeah, we appreciate everyone listening in and following us every week, I guess. If you do want to continue following us, then you can find us on all your favorite podcast services. We're pretty much on all of them, including Stitcher and iTunes and stuff like that. So go and find us on there. You can follow us on Twitter. We are at Coffee Beer Cast. And where can people find you, Evan?
The stand user on Sifted Giant Bomb and Twitter. And I forgot, I'm drinking a cold brew coffee, and it says cold brew coffee is not just a drink, it's a lifestyle. I almost spit out my coffee because I was actually reading it while
painful.
I was drinking it.
That's hard. Yeah, that's pretty painful. I'm actually, like, I did drink a coffee, but before that I had a whiskey. I'm trying to get into whiskey at the moment,
right.
and I tried a bullet bourbon. I had a rye whiskey.
I recommend, if you can find it, Woodford Reserve.
I've had Woodford. I had that a couple of weeks ago, actually.
I've been to that bourbon distillery. I think it's the oldest and smallest bourbon distillery in the United States, and the official drink of the Kentucky Derby.
I do like Kentucky bourbons. They're my favorite because they're like more sweet.
Did you almost say I do like Kentucky Derby?
Derby. I almost said that. I might have said that. I'm not
Maybe.
even sure. We've got a recording of it, so we'll see. Maybe I did say that. Kentucky bourbon.
I think the Skype call might have just the audio skipped a little bit. That might have been it.
Right, maybe. Or I actually did say it. I'm actually a moron. We'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. But anyway, yeah, you can find me. I am at Hillfort Games on Twitter. You can see me in some of my shenanigans there. I sometimes do finger paintings. And you can come follow those. Or don't, I guess. But from both of us here, we'll see you in the next one. So, ta-ta.
Stay safe.
Yeah, wash your hands. Stay inside. Christ. Like, don't go outside. Don't kill old people. Because that's basically what you're doing.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.